And we're ready just before we start. We got a bit of energy, and who can give us energy? Who better than Arthur? No, Isaac. Sorry, I didn't hear this very well. Isaac, can you give us a quick energy boost?
Sure.
Let's go.
So, is there any member of IEF Italy in the audience?
They left early, unfortunately.
They left early, alas, I was counting on them. Yeah. That's cool. So, well, maybe the simplest one, and something that will just put us in the mind for Arthur's presentation. It's not exclusively IEF, but let's change our perspective by moving our chairs and sitting next to someone different. So that'll kind of bring us new energy and a new place to sit. So if we can just move around the room. There we go, a bit of creativity because Italy's not here. And handing over to Arthur, who is of course extremely energized.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, magic. How can you summarize 3 and a bit date or 2, whatever, lost count, 3 days of conference in 20 minutes? Who can do that? Now you got the right answer.
Isaac.
But Victoria just did it. How did you follow Victoria, who so beautifully summarized the key themes of what you were talking about all this weekend? So it's an enormous challenge to follow somebody like Victoria for trying to bring together a conference as rich and as diverse as this is. Of course, for me it's been a particular challenge because EBBF conference is like a wonderful meal. You sit down and all these rich courses and a lovely dessert and so on and so forth. And of course, in the Environment Forum, it's the same thing. A lovely meal with lovely hors d'oeuvres and main dishes and nice dessert, but 2 at the same time. Okay, and this is, for me, this has been the mixing of 2 of my major interests in one place at one time. All of my colleagues from the 2 sides coming together, and I think it's been a special advantage because in the sea you have a great wave of energy, and that wave rises up. If there are 2 waves coming from different directions, they add on to each other, and they become twice as high, twice as much energy. And I think, to a certain extent, that's what happened this weekend, that the energy of EBBF and its work in the business community, and the energy of IEF and its work with environment and sustainability have added to each other, and have cross-fertilized and enriched each other. And of course, we hope that this is also a process of discovery, that EBBF has gotten to know IEF. And if you want to join IEF, the website is over there. We have the advantage over EBBF, we don't charge dues. We're a virtual organization, so it's not expensive to join IEF. And vice versa, IEF members may have discovered that suddenly they have an interesting view on the business community, and you want to join EBBF. It's not quite so easy, because there are dues, but still, we hope that you will learn more about each other, discover that each organization within a common spirit has websites with lots of rich materials on them, practical answers, people you can meet that can be assistants or advisors in one way or another. Our directory in the environment is available. You can see all about the IEF members on its website and so on. There's information on EBBF as well. So we're hoping there's a cross-fertilization and a growing partnership and linkage between the organizations as they go ahead. Of course, also this weekend we have been looking at theory in the broader sense, solving all the problems of the world, and the very practical steps, things that you do, for immediate things, what do you do tomorrow? We have looked at things like micro-enterprises. We've had wonderful sustainability islands, and the kinds of questions that came up and were discussed on those islands were really quite phenomenally deep and important. We've had a series of workshops, again, across various practical areas of action and activities, and we've always had this underlying theme of how important values are and how important that linkage to values is in finding solutions to these very challenging problems that we're all facing. We, of course, also have spent so much time on this theme that unites our 2 organizations about growth or sustainability. And we saw, obviously, that there was a conflict. We started looking at them, you might say, conflictual, and then say, well, how can we find a common vision to bring them together to address that challenging set of issues for society in some new and more creative way. And we started by trying to define more clearly, what do we mean by this? And what do we mean by prosperity, a new kind of prosperity, where we're trying to go? Because that's, of course, the aim of growth, is to achieve prosperity. Aim of sustainability is to achieve prosperity. But they're heading in the wrong direction. So how do we bring them together with respect to a common vision that's not just, the tinsel and glitter of, a material society, but something that's much more linked to our deep love of humankind and wanting the well-being of every single being on this planet. We've also looked a bit at the measuring dimension, because measuring prosperity, measuring values, these are not things that have been easy to do. Everybody says this is a challenge, but we need it, and we see that we're now taking steps to try to meet that challenge, to try to do some very practical things in the years ahead, to combine our efforts and say, what can we do to begin to measure these things that are so important, to make them visible, and therefore to try to make them both targets to reach and a basis for management actions. What do we do? How can we manage to increase these values that are so critical to our success? And how can we then use them to leverage change in our businesses, in our communities, in our societies? We've also been looking at achieving prosperity. What can we do to actually get there? And Augusto last night gave us his two scenarios, the rolling up of the old world order, collapse of civilization scenario, the sinking Titanic, leaving the ship, where do we go? Or the evolutionary transition. Can we build what we have, change what has to be changed, but not lose so much in the process of trying to go forward? I personally think we're probably going to see some of both. Go back to the time of the dinosaurs. These lumbering things dominating the earth, eating and being eaten and so on. And we know they died out. They couldn't adapt to changing conditions. They didn't survive. But at the same time, there were the tree shrews, the first mammals that already could control their body temperature, could adapt better to changing conditions, were already beginning to evolve and develop, and were able to lay the foundations for the next great evolutionary surge of diversity in the mammals that then came to replace the dinosaurs and dominated the world, including ultimately human beings. So we really are in a situation where, yes, there are going to be some parts of our society that are the dinosaurs and that are going to collapse and disappear. They're not going to be able to adapt. Now, what they are, whether they are the present concept of sovereign states, whether it be multinational corporate monopolies or whatever, obviously some things need to change. Whereas there are other things going on now that are already drawing on the strengths of what we've done and creating new patterns, new ways of going forward, new ways of doing things, new kinds of business. And so it's in many ways a challenge. Where do we invest our efforts? Do we struggle to try to save those things that don't seem to be able to evolve and change and are probably going to collapse? Or do we invest our efforts in those creative, new and different ways of doing things that will be the first steps towards this new kind of society we're trying to build for the future? And it's a challenge for all of us. It's a challenge for EBBF to say, where does it find the best